It's not mental.
All right, here we go. Product of two logs. Okay, we're going to learn about what to do when we have a product of two logs. So write this down either on the back page of your packet or a notebook paper, a piece of notebook paper. Three total things. Okay, so say that you have something like log base A of u times v. Isn't u times v a product? Today you're going to learn how to write it in expanded form. Like this over here on the right is expanded form of what's on the left. This is called a single logarithm. This is the expanded form of it. So write it down and then I'll talk more about it. You can use any letter. Oh, yeah, that really should be gone, please. Okay, so whenever you're given something like this, like I'll show you one with numbers also. You have a product like u times v or 3 times x. When you're asked to expand it, you write log twice. The reason you're writing it twice is because you're multiplying two things together. So for the first one, it would be log base a of the u. And then for the second log, it's log base a of v. Now anytime you're dealing with a product of two logs, when you expand it, you write an addition sign between them. So look at the example. We have log base 5 of 3 times x. Okay, we're going to write log base 5 twice because one will be for the 3 and one will be for the x. And since it's multiplication, when you expand it, you write addition. Okay, it's very simple. Let's try some. We're not done with the notes. We're just going to go back and forth. Okay, so let's look at number 2. Okay, number 2, we have log base 2 of 7 times 3. Okay, so we have a product of two logs. So since you have two things being multiplied together, you're going to write log base 2 twice. Okay, the first log base 2 will be of 7, the first number in your product. The second log base 2 will be of 3, which is the second number in the product. Since it's multiplication, when you write it in expanded form, you put a plus between them, and there's your answer. That's all you do. Okay, so why don't you try 4, 5, and 7? Number 4. Number 4, you should have got log base 2 of 6 plus log base 2 of 8. So we all got? Okay, number 5, you should have got log base 3 of x plus log base 3 of y. Okay, and then number 7, you should have got log base 3 of 5 plus log base 3 of y. Okay, now let's go back to the notes. Okay, go back to the notes. Now we're going to learn about what to do when you have a quotient of two logs. What does quotient mean? Divide.
What?
Shh, write it down, guys. Okay. So here's here's an example of the quotient of two logs. Log base A of u divided by v. It's pretty much the same thing as when it's a product, except for you subtract them. So you write it twice. One has the u, the other has the v, but you subtract. I just copied the worksheet. Okay, here we go. Here's an example. Log base 5 of 3 divided by x. Since you have a 3 divided by x, you write it twice. The 3 goes with the first one because it's the numerator. The x goes with the second one, and then it's division. So when you expand it, you write it as subtraction. Okay, let's look at 3 and 6. It's log base 5 of 19 over 2. So how many times am I going to write log base 5? Twice. And then 19 minus 2. Okay, number 6. You should have got log base 5 of A. Oops, I got 5. Minus log base 5 of 3. Okay, now the next rule we're going to learn, so this will be the last thing in the notes, is log raised to a power. Look like if you have something like log base A of u to the n power, when you expand a logarithm, the power comes to the front. So like in this example, log base 5 of x cubed, it's the power of 3. When you write it in expanded form, the 3 comes down in front of the log. Right, it's easy. Now, don't get confused if it looks like that. If the cubed is on the inside, you still do the same thing. But it's still x cubed. Okay, so now try number 1 and number 8. Okay, what'd you get for number 1?
5 log 2 base.
Right, base 2 of 9. Okay, what'd you get for number 10? I mean number 8.
10 log.
Right. Okay, now, starting in question 9, they're just combining rules. We have multiplication, a product, and we have division, so a quotient. So how many times do you think I'm going to write log base 5? 3 times. Okay, the first one will be of 13. The second time will be of 8. And the third time will be log base 5 of 2. Now, what operation am I going to put between the log base 5 of 13 and the log base 5 of 8? Plus, because look, 13 and 8 are being multiplied. So over here you add them when you expand it. But then we divide by 2, so what sign's going to go over here? Subtract. Okay, number 10 combines the quotient of 2 logs and the power rule. So how many times am I going to write log base 2? Twice. Once for the A and another time for the B. What sign will go in between them? Minus, because they're being divided. Now, it's to the 5th power, but what is to the 5th power? Both of them, because the parentheses let you know that everything is raised to the 5th power. So both of them are raised to the 5th power, so when we bring them down, won't both of them have a 5? Okay, skip number 11 for a second and try 12. Okay, let's look at it. Number 12. How many times do I need to write log base 5? 3 times. Log base 5 of x, log base 5 of y, and log base 5 of z. Okay, what sign goes in between the x and the y?
Plus.
What sign goes over here? Okay, what all's raised to the 8th power? All of them. So I put an 8 in front of each one of them. Okay, number 13. How many times do you think I'm going to write log base 2? Okay, have we split these before though when it's minus? No, you don't split it, you just keep it together. So log base 2 of 1 minus x and log base 2 of y, what sign goes in between those? Minus, and then what all is raised to the third power? Both, or everything, so you put a 3 in front of that one and a 3 in front of that one. Okay, you don't have to write this down, but I'm going back to the notes for a second. A couple of weeks ago when we started this packet, we learned how to rewrite, like the square root of x, we learned how to rewrite it with an exponent. Like, I want to take away the square root, how could I rewrite that? X to the what power? Okay, well let me help you out. The cube root of x can be rewritten as x to the 1/3. So the square root of x, 1/2. Y'all remember that? Okay, let me go over one other rule real quick. What happens when you have like x to the 1/3 and then you square that? Right, you multiply those and it becomes x to the 2/3. Y'all remember all those rules? Okay, well we're about to use them. Okay, number 11. Can I erase everything? Okay. The first thing that you need to do is rewrite this logarithm without the square root symbol. So, instead of log base 5 of the square root of all that, we're going to rewrite it without the square root symbol. So instead we need to raise it to the 1/2. Yeah, all of it's under the square root, so all of it gets raised to the 1/2 power. Okay, so now, isn't that basically saying that the x to the 5th power is raised to the 1/2 and the y is raised to the 1/2? So what happens right here with a power to a power? X to the 5/2. You multiply a power to a power. So that x to the 5th, all raised to the 1/2, becomes x to the 5/2. Y'all remember that? Okay, so now we're ready. We have an x and a y that are being multiplied. So we write log base 5 twice. Okay, once for the x, once for the y. They're being multiplied, so that's addition. They both are raised to a power, and when you're expanding, what do you do with powers? Right in the front. So 5/2 would come over here, and 1/2 on that one. Okay, once you're done copying that, turn to the next page and try the problem at the top. Let's go over it. The first thing that we need to do is we need to rewrite it without that 5th root. So instead of, guys, instead of doing the 5th root of 9x cubed, I can raise 9x cubed to the 1/5 power. Now, basically what that's doing is it's raising the 9 to the 1/5 power, and it's raising the x cubed to the 1/5 power. And so we need to simplify this a step further. What is x cubed raised to the 1/5 power? X to the 3/5. Okay, so now how many times do I need to write log base 3? Twice. Once for the 9 that was raised to the 1/5, so it comes in the front. And they're multiplied, so we add it. So log base 3 of x, and it was raised to the 3/5, so 3/5 comes in the front. Okay? It's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. And if you remember all the rules that you learned throughout this packet. Okay, now let's go down to the bottom of the page. Okay? On the bottom of the page, it's the opposite. They gave it to you in expanded form. You're going back to a single logarithm, otherwise known as condensing it. So how many times do you think you need to write log base 3? Just once. So I've taken care of the log base 3 part. It's subtraction over here, so what will it be over here? Division. What are the things that are being divided? 10 and 4. What have I not crossed out over there? And what is the 2? The exponent for the 10. Now, this is correct, but we're going to reduce it. We're going to simplify. Log base 3. What is 10 squared? And what's 100 divided by 4? 25. Okay, now let's look at number 21. Can I erase 19? Because it's kind of in my way. All right, number 21. Log base 5. It's going to be multiplication because of the addition. I kind of like to mark out. That way I know what's taken care of and what's not. So now what's the only thing that I haven't dealt with? Okay, well doesn't that mean the x was raised to the 1/2 power? So the square root of x. Did we put the square root symbol over the y too? No, the y wasn't raised to the 1/2, so it's not part of the square root. Okay, number 20. Log base 2. Okay, what operation goes over here when we write it as a single logarithm? Multiplication between what two things? X and y. Okay, but the x was raised to the 2/3 power. Okay, well think back to if it was raised to the 1/3 power, what would it have turned into? The cube root of x, right? So for them to get x to the 2/3, doesn't that mean all of that was squared? So the cube root of x, but all of it was squared, and that's how it became x to the 2/3. And then times y. Okay, number 22. Log base 3. Okay, so taking care of those is plus, so over here it's going to be multiplication between what two things? X cubed and y to the right. You don't really have to put parentheses, you can. Okay, try number 23. Okay, log base 3. Okay, it's addition over here, so over here it'll be between x and 11. And then, what else? X is to the 6th power, 11's to the... So couldn't we do something with 11 squared? What is 11 squared? 121, and don't we normally write a coefficient before the variable? So I would write it like that. Okay, number 24. This time we have 3 things. But when we write it as a single logarithm, that doesn't matter. You still write log base 5 one time. Now, you'll notice that there's a minus sign between the x and the y. What does that mean? Divide. But then between the y and the z, there's a plus sign, so you're multiplying those. Is there anything we didn't deal with? The x is to the 4th power. Okay, for homework, you need to do 25 and 26, and then also the 4 at the top that we did not do, 15 through 18. Okay, you have it at like 5 more minutes, so you can work on some of them now, because you're not going to switch out yet.